I can tell the vernacular. You're a pro. So, Justin, so good to meet you, sir. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today.
Joe, thanks for having me, man. Look forward to this conversation.
Yes, sir. Me too. So let's begin this journey into your work by asking you this. 5 years ago, this pandemic changed so many things about our reality. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you approach life today?
Wow, right off the bat, man.
Right off the
Heavy
bat,
question.
dude.
Right off the bat. I mean, that's not even a softball. That's a slider there.
That's
Oh man. How did it change my reality? And how do I get through it today? Well, the reality changed because my wife almost died. I'm just going to cut right through the mustard. I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here, Joe, with you and your audience. I was a business owner, been a business owner for over 35 years now. Had started a business just a few years beforehand. My goal was to reach DecaMillionaire status within 4-year time frame. And so I was working with my coach, driving some things forward. Business was accelerating. And then COVID happened. And my wife's laid up in the hospital with literally, no exaggeration, a 12% chance of survival. And we had to make a decision whether or not we were going to do a high risk surgery. And we made the decision. We had the conversation with our 3 children. I have a daughter in college, a son about to graduate high school, and a son is 14 years of age. We had to make a decision that, hey, we're going to talk about reality. Mom may not come home from the hospital. And Joe, in that conversation during COVID, I'm helping business owners navigate. We're pivoting. My business is skyrocketing. We're accelerating. But in my person, after she made it through the surgery, God took care of her. It was a miracle. She is healthy today, the love of my life. Thank God for that. But after her surgery, she looked at me, Joe, and she said, Justin, what's another $1 million going to do for us? I couldn't answer her. I was speechless.
Yeah.
So I went and talked to my business coach, and he said, Justin, if you could answer, how would you answer? I said, I don't know how to answer her. He said, okay, let me ask you a different question. And Joe, because of the pandemic, it changed my whole outlook from that point for the rest of my life. He said, Justin, if you had unlimited time and unlimited resources, what would you do tomorrow that you're not doing today? And I couldn't answer that question. But what he said, and when he said unlimited time, my brain's processing, Joe, and I'm like, none of us have unlimited time. That time is finite. It's the most expensive thing we own is time. And I said, I don't know. And he said, and he didn't say money. He didn't say talent. He said resources, which could be a number of things. And in that moment, I said, if I could do anything, I'd look back after 30 years of being a business owner, after scaling businesses, 7, 8, and 9-figure valuations, exiting them, building 7 companies, doing some monumental things, fighting some fierce battles. I would look back and I would speak to business owners every single day. I would write books about it. I'd be on stage, I'd be on podcasts. And then he made this statement. He said, then why aren't we doing that? Wow. That's the result of COVID, Joe.
Wow. What a great story. So, if I put you in front of a bunch of kids right now and they wanted to get a handle on what you do for a living, it's career day. They're about 11, 12 years old. Kid in the back of the room wakes up and says, hey, what do you do for a living? What's your answer?
Answer simple. I help business owners achieve freedom. That's the answer. Now, what does that mean? Right? Because that's what they would say. Well, Justin, what does that mean? Business owners, we are a phenomenal species. I'm one. We're tenacious. We'll get up in the morning and we will charge hell with a water pistol. If we believe it, we pour our life into it. We'll work, as the saying goes, 80 hours a week for ourselves as opposed to working 30 hours for the man. That's who we are. We're tenacious, but it's to our own detriment. Statistically speaking, most business owners will never achieve freedom, statistically speaking. In fact, right now, there's this air in the community, of the business community, where the young kids, as I call them, the young ones just now coming out of college, they're now being taught how to buy businesses on the pennies on the dollar because mom and dad, the business owners, never took time to actually build a business that was transferable. So what I would tell the young person, a 12-year-old, if you will, in junior high, I would say I teach business owners how to radically scale their companies. They can double or triple the value of their companies and build enterprise value, build net worth in a short period of time. That's what I teach business owners to do.
So what did you want to be when you were 11, 12 years old? What was your dream gig?
I wanted to ride on the back of the trash truck. I'm just serious.
I love it.
I grew up, we live in a rural county and we had 2 guys. I remember their names. They would ride on the back of the truck. Yeah. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. That's literally what I wanted to do.
My son's 20 is on the spectrum, and he has this thing with the trash guys. When he was younger, he loved them, and he actually got a trash truck, like a replica, and had one of the dudes sign it. I thought the dude was going to cry after he did it. Get an autograph from those dudes. And then now, today, even today, we'll be out before he gets on the bus throwing the football around, and he'll find those dudes coming up, and he's like, and those guys are always game. And he'll throw that ball, and they'll try to catch it, and it's awesome. There's a spirit, man. They're a good spirit animal.
Oh yeah, they're good people. It's sanitation engineers, what we call them now here in the
Yes,
South.
that's
Sanitation
it.
engineer, but those are my peeps. That's what I wanted to do, man. I never dreamt that I would be doing what I'm doing today.
So how did we get here? Let me go back to your beginnings. Are you originally from Knoxville?
I'm not. I was born and raised in South Georgia, in the swamps of South Georgia.
Okay. So how take me back to the early seeds that were planted into you that became this entrepreneur, highly driven, successful, and obviously real to help other people now. How did that happen?
It happened because a mom and dad said they wanted to change the trajectory of their children. I'm a product of a parent's decision. Mom and dad were raised in poverty in the South. And if you could think of anything that could happen to a child, ugly and evil, my mom and dad experienced it. I'll just leave it at that. Just hard time. Dysfunction might be the word that we would use to kind of sugarcoat it. And whenever they got married, they said, we're going to raise our children differently. At the age of, I was about third grade, our parents brought us out of the education system and began homeschooling us. And they had no idea what they were doing, Joe. But they wanted to raise business owners because they always saw business owners as somebody being able to have a nicer lifestyle than what they had seen. And they saw business owners as having control of their destiny. So at the age of 15, honest to God story, I'm sitting around almost like this Walton style, like Leave It to Beaver type of thing. I'm sitting around this table as a homeschooling family, as two parents who were doing the very best they could. Well, my dad barely got out of high school. My mom had a little bit of a nursing education, just country folk, man. I mean, we knew turnip greens and sweet potatoes. We didn't know business. Sitting around a living room, dining room table that the week I was going to turn 16, he said, son, you'll be 16 this week. Yes, sir. He said, I want you to have a job by Friday and don't come home. Literally, Joe, no exaggeration. And now remember, I'm homeschooled. I'm like the sheltered kid. I mean, I'm the really weird ones in the society at that point. And he's like, but there's catches to this. You cannot work fast food. You cannot work for a grocery store, and you cannot work for anybody I know. Now, my last name is Goodbread. That's not an easy name to forget.
Yeah.
My dad's Alan Goodbread knew almost everybody. I swear he knew everybody in that town. So, like, Dr. Seuss book, Do You Know My Mother? I would literally go around that week and say, do you know my father, Alan Goodbread? Oh, yeah, he's a good man. I can't work for you. And I finally, on Friday, cut the story short, on Friday, he had pushed the lawnmower out in the driveway. Now, we lived on a dirt, sandy road in the country. It's about a mile to the next neighbor's house. I had to literally go through the swamp, down by the marsh. I grabbed the mower and I walked about 3 miles and I found this yard that had some high grass in it. I knocked on the door. Hey, sir, do you know my dad, Alan Goodbread? No, sir, we don't. Great. I'm going to cut your grass. You pay me whatever you want to pay me. And then we call it good. He's like, absolutely. 3 hours, got paid 40 bucks. Drove the mower home that day, Joe. My dad came home. Here's the lesson. Here's the principle that I was taught that led to the success that many people see. I come home and I took a shower, washed the mower up like we were trained to do, put it away nice and neat. And I'm sitting there, man, clean and smelling good, Joe. Dad comes home, working at Georgia Port Authority, just a very honorable man, did the best he could. And he smelled like a working man. He was exhausted. He looked at me and said, man, you're looking good, Goodbread. Did you get a job? I said, well, Pops, we called Dad Pops. I said, Pops, I don't know if it counts as a job, but I got paid 40 bucks. He goes, cool, what'd you do? I said, I worked 2 hours. I cut this guy's name, Mr. Brown's grass. By the way, they knew each other. They arranged this. I didn't know that at the time, but I cut Mr. Brown's grass and he paid me 40 bucks. He said, cool. First lesson, you owe me $5 for rent. Okay, cool. I got 35 bucks. His second lesson, you just made more in 2 hours than I've ever made in my life in 2 hours time. Justin, if you end up working for yourself forever, you'll always have this feeling. If you work for the man, you're going to look like me. That was the launching pad, Joe, that led us into entrepreneurship. And that was the catalyst for our education to business.
My dad was a car salesman, and I remember going in, and he was immaculately dressed, polished shoes. He was just a magician. He would get people to buy things. And I remember at one point, I was early teens, somebody looked at me and said, hey, are you going to be like your dad and be an all-star car salesman? And my dad would always jump in and say, he's not going to be a dummy like me. He's going to go to college and he's going to do something different. And those early lessons, and it hurt me when he said it because it's like, you're not, you're the guy, you're the one, but
Yeah.
it's just grooming you for that next stage.
Yeah, absolutely. From that point forward, they made a decision, not me. That's the key. They were the one. They made the decision that their children are going to be different, and they invested their entire life into us. They drug us. We were drug kids. They drug us to Zig Ziglar conferences, Og Mandino, Charlie Tremendous Jones, Les Brown. We were drugged to these conferences as teenagers. Whenever there's adults inside there who are business owners and people getting motivated by these greats, and I'm sitting there drinking it up. And that led us into a business that within 2 years of us dragging that mower down the road, my brother and I were each making more money than my mom and dad combined net. We took our family because we understood now business. We were getting trained by business leaders in our education system. And it took us a business from zero to over $6 million in total landscape revenue by the time I was 21. Sold it. But after I met my wife from East Tennessee, we moved to East Tennessee. Since then, I've started and sold an additional 5 companies. It's been an amazing journey.
When you made your first big paycheck, or you had enough money, what was your first big purchase where you're like, oh man, I can't believe I'm doing this?
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I've had this philosophy my whole life because I can hear Dave Ramsey like literally behind me right now. He'd be
Yeah,
like, "Goodbread, be careful how you answer
that's
this."
it.
Dave Ramsey, live like no one else, so later you can live like no one else. The very first big decision I made was to actually invest money for the first time ever at the age of 18. We had not really bought big investments for ourselves. We bought equipment for the business, but not for ourselves. But we had some good income that year, and I was going to invest it. And I went down to the average financial guy, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, when you learn to make money, come back and see me. I can't help you right now." Now we're talking about investing six figures in the 90s. Okay. It was good money, but it wasn't enough for him. And at that point, I said, you know what? There's a better way for me to do this. How do I invest money? So it wasn't until, in fact, I had this purchase I'm about to make. About now, 35 years later, I've not spent a lot of money on Justin and on things. I'm about to buy a Shelby Cobra. It's a car that I've had on my dream list since I was 12, but I wanted to reach a certain data point. I'm about to spend my first big check on myself now after 30 years of just investing, building businesses, putting money back into real estate and the stock market and various things of that nature.
Wow, that's amazing. So let me ask you this. Who's been your hero? Who's been that real inspirational force consistently in your career?
Well, obviously my parents, that goes without saying now, because I mean, anytime you have a homeschooling parent, it's a tight knit family. Um, Outside of them, I had 5 men that invested in my life in my teens. And anytime that I needed counsel or anytime I needed a decision, I would lean on these men. And they were just blue collar people. One's a gas truck driver. He owns a gas business, propane business, putting, propane into people's houses. Another one works at a mill. He's a song leader at a church. Another one was an electrical guy that ran major voltage for a power company. These were not major, millionaires or billionaires. These were common sense, blue collar folks that I had deep respect for, that anytime I asked them a question, they knew me well enough to pose a question to me that would say, let me challenge my answers. I've never been afraid to ask the question, Joe. I've never been afraid to ask a question I didn't know the answer to. I've always been terrified of not questioning the answers I believed. And these individuals have always been able to challenge the answers that I always had.
So if you can meet one entrepreneur or one inspirational business force alive today, have a lunch, talk to them a little bit, maybe someone that would help you on your journey right now, who would that be?
As it stands today, I'd probably speak to Ed Milet
Yeah.
more than anybody today. I see myself a lot in him, a lot of the same journey, a lot of the same belief systems. He's been doing the public speaking a lot more than I have, but I love his mindset for my journey today. If I were to add a couple others there, man, I would love to have dinner with Dave Ramsey just to say thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So obviously you're successful, you're highly driven. What is that energy every day that makes you wake up when that alarm goes off, to take care of business, to nurture your soul, your family? What is that collective energy for you every day?
I think the collective energy is leaving it on the field. For those of us who play sports, we heard the coach said, leave it on the field, leave the game exhausted. I don't view wealth as the trophy. I don't review success as the trophy. However, somebody might define that. What I view as the trophy is that one day I'm going to meet my maker. And I believe, maybe this is right or wrong, I believe there is a version of Justin that is the very best version of Justin. whatever that may be. That I would hate to meet my maker and realize that I never achieved the best version of myself.
Yeah.
The impact I could have had on others, the benefit that others could have gained from the best version of Justin. That is the driving force. Because if I become the very best version of myself that I know God can allow me to be, then that's going to impact my family, my children, my immediate family, my friends, people who are listening to me. That to me is a driving force. How can I get just a little bit better today than I was yesterday? How can I get a little bit more fire? How can I learn something that can drive value for others out there? That to me is a driving force.
So let's go back to that young Justin with 40 bucks in your hand waiting for your dad to get home. And instead, this current version of you walks through the door and you have a book in your hands. It's like a coffee table book. You hand it to that young version of you and you're like, that's how your life turned out. Would that version of you believe it?
No, no. The Justin today doesn't believe it. There's a lot of I'm reminded of a State Farm commercial I saw years ago. You may remember this commercial. There's a savvy African American sitting behind a desk, wear polished, very groomed. I mean, nice, beautiful beard. And a young whippersnapper comes up and he said, "Man, look how successful you are." And the gentleman turns around and looks at the pictures on the wall behind him. And he said, "Yeah, it's been successful. It's a beautiful life, but it always wasn't a beautiful taste. It always wasn't always easy. There's some hard times." If someone would ask me, if I looked at Justin today at the age of 12, at the age of 15, at the age of 20, at the age of 35, I would have said, "You've lost your ever loved mind. There's no way a country boy born and raised in dirt road could be able to be used as I've been used. No way."
So, of all of the things that you have to do as an entrepreneur, the cornerstone is you got the risk failure factor. It's that
Yeah.
ratio. What's the biggest risk that you think you've taken in your career arc?
The biggest risk I took is whenever I shut down a company, walked away from $250,000 of recurring revenue take home pay because I had not reached my two goals that I had promised myself at the age of 19. I promised myself that I was going to write a New York Times bestseller and I was going to be a DecaMillionaire by the time of 40. At 36, I had not written a book. I had not written a paragraph for that matter because I can't spell worth a flip. That was my Achilles heel. And we had made millions, but we had lost it. And here we are at this point of our life, poor with like P and a bunch of O's between the P and the R. We're poor, man. We are broke. I'm literally clueless. And I'm sitting on the top of West Virginia mountaintop, and I made a decision. I'm going to do whatever it takes for our family to reach these two destinations. What that entailed, I didn't believe it at the time, was I turned around, we sold our house, we had a couple $100,000 of cash saved up in equity house, took the equity, started a new business, moved my wife and three babies, Joe, into a double wide trailer in East Tennessee, where at night I would take the BB gun and shoot the mice running across the floor. No exaggeration.
Yeah.
We made some sacrifices in order to reach this, but we had this belief. We had this simple belief that God would not have given us that vision if it was not intended for us to achieve it. He would not have given us that burning heart, that desire that every person listening to me has, that deep down desire that, man, I wish I could. I knew that if we were going to ever achieve it, now's the time, regardless of the cost. And if it failed, at least we're going to fail trying.
Yeah.
That was the decision.
So, of all of these risks that you've taken, all these decisions made, everything that's evolved into who you are today, what are you the proudest of?
That's a question.
Yeah.
I pause because that's a serious question.
Yeah.
I'm proudest. Huh. I would have to say in the moment, and I've never been asked that before, so thank you. I'm going to have to ponder that one a little bit. But in the moment, I would say, I'm still married to my bride.
Yeah.
My kids still talk to me. I have a relationship with friends, people that have been beside me for 20 years. Those three things, dude. So many business owners will gain the world, so to speak, in money, and they lose their spouse, their significant other, the love of their life, because of pride, because of lack of focus, because of things. I've been blessed in that avenue. My wife is still my best friend. My children are not hateful of dad and mom because I come home tired of the day and cuss the business world. In fact, all three of them want to be business owners. Like, "Dad, man, this is great. They've been in the business with me." So having that relationship with them, and then not running our friends away, having friends that have been beside me now for decades. Literally, I just came off a hunting trip with 5 of them that are friends of mine for decades. And I can call them right now and they're like, "Where are we taking the shovel? Let's go. How deep are we burying this guy?" That's literally the type of friend. And we joke tongue in cheek, but you understand where I'm coming from.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is far more satisfying to me than all the awards, the national accolades, and the speaking events, and the money. And all that stuff is so trivial.
Yeah. So let me take that a step further. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
And your questions are pretty deep, Joe. This is good. This is good. I've never been asked these before.
Good.
My perception of myself is I'm a person who doesn't take no for an answer. I'm a person that says if there's got to be a way to accomplish whatever it is God's put on your heart. I believe that my perception of myself is I'm imperfect. I'm full of pride. I'm being honest. I have hubris pride. That's my Achilles heel. And it leads me to so many times where I just look back and say, you're an idiot, Justin. That was so stupid. That's why I'm negative myself. If I'm being honest, I think we all do that at some point, depending on where Achilles heel is. But my perception of myself is I'm somebody who believes that if I've been blessed as I've been, as a country boy, born and raised on a dirt road, literally born and raised on a country road in South Georgia, was homeschooled back when homeschooling didn't even exist. Dumb as a box of rocks many times, can't spell worth a flip. If I've been able to be used as I've been able to be used, then man, anybody can. That's really my perception. That's what I want people to realize.
So let's leave on a fantastical, fun note here. If we get off this call and a time machine pulls up and you can go anywhere in the anthology of human history and see one event with your own eyes, you won't create a tear in time. You just get to witness something happen before your eyes. Where are you going to go? What are you going to witness?
Probably the birth of Jesus.
Yeah.
Probably the birth of Jesus. BC is there for a reason. BC, before Christ. That single event, whether or not someone believes he is God or not, that single event changed the history of human civilization. I would be amazed to see that particular event.
I often wonder because I'll get answers with either the rising or before the crucifixion or something along those lines, or even in a market just to see the regular everyday interaction. How heavy that would be for us to even witness in a ghost version. It's almost unimaginable to think that you would watch something like that that has been so, so big in our lives.
Yeah, because that event changed the face of civilization. At the birth of Christ, and knowing the time of history, it was dark. And even his crucifixion was dark. I'm not sure I could watch the crucifixion, could not do it. But
Yeah,
I think I could be there to witness, maybe not the actual physical birth of Christ, but at that
sure.
time and see Jesus. That would be pretty amazing to do. That'd be my answer to that question. I
Absolutely.
agree with you, though. I know I couldn't handle the crucifixion. Couldn't do
Yeah,
it.
no, no
Couldn't do
way.
it.
No.
Uh,
So, Justin, if anyone wants to reach out, they want to hire you, any of the good, catch you speak, any of the good business in your world, where do they go?
Absolutely. So justingoodbread.com is the hub for everything. Welcome to look at it there. If you want to see somebody who's living a life of freedom, just been blessed beyond measure, follow me on Instagram. We have a blast there. My team and I, we share so much fun. If you want to learn about business and learn how to radically double, triple the value of your company, if you're a business owner, hey, we have a podcast ourselves, a YouTube channel with literally hundreds of hours, 200 hours of teaching business owners how you can radically double and triple the value of your company. It's a lot of fun.
I love it. I will put all that in the show notes. Justin, what a joy. So great to meet you, sir. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your story, and best of luck with everything.
Thanks for having me, Joe. It's been fun.
Yes, sir. Thank you.